Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, as you can see from the title, I'm going to be speaking about how to get in shape and more importantly how to maintain your physique once you get to where you want to be. So this video would be suited towards people that are just beginning in the gym and need some advice on where to start. It could be for people that are already in the gym but may have fallen off track for a while, or even people like myself where you just need a gentle reminder of why you started training in the first place and why to keep going. I haven't done one of these kind of sit down, chatty, informative videos in a while, and these are probably my favourite type of videos, to be honest, because I think in a really short space of time you can get across a lot of information, which is one of the main goals of my channel, is to teach you guys and give you tips and tricks that you might use in your own fitness journeys. So this video will kind of be broken up into two parts. So the first part will be giving you tips on how to get in shape in the first place and how to start, and then the second part of the video will be speaking about habits you should be getting into to maintain your physiques once you get there. Okay, so first things first anyway, and I know it might sound a bit obvious, but the first thing you have to do to get in shape is to genuinely want to change. So I think a lot of people think they want to change really badly, when in reality they only kind of want to change, and that's a really big issue that people often overlook. So people might say, oh, I really want to get abs for this occasion, or I want a bikini body by then, or I want to look really nice in this dress for this night. Whereas when it actually comes to doing the things that need to be done to get there, they slack. So if you're at that stage and you're trying to get past the kind of want phase, my main tip would be to take down the pros and cons of if you kept acting the way you are, or if you were to decide to change right now today and where you would be then. This is one thing that I do often to motivate myself and keep myself on track. I make lists in my notes. I genuinely have lists of what will happen if I decide to keep going the way I am if I'm slacking, or what would happen if I decided to motivate myself and get going to reach my goals. Some of the reasons you might decide to change, I have some taken down here for myself, would be more self-confidence, looking better, having better self-esteem, feeling accomplished, having a better mental health. I think everyone will agree that exercise definitely helps with mental health as well. And then if I didn't decide to change, I'd probably end up feeling I can't stick to a plan, or that I'm stuck in a plateau and that it's everyone else's fault, because that's another thing that people seem to do. When they decide not to change, they blame the things or the people around them, which is another major mistake. I'm sure you'll see when you're trying to decide whether to change your habits or not to make yourself healthier and fitter that the pros will always weigh out the cons, and once you see it physically in front of you, I think it'll definitely help. And it's just a gentle reminder that you're taking a step in the right direction, and the list will always be there when you need it. So that is tip number one, guys. Make sure you genuinely want to change, and if you're only kind of wanting to change, make a list. I can guarantee the pros will always outweigh the cons, and that's a good way to start off. Okay, so once you've made your active decision that you want to change, the next big step would be make a plan. So I know that's a very general statement, so you need to make sure, guys, that your plan is completely suited to you and not to someone you've seen online, or not to one of your friends that are also going to the gym with you. Make sure your plan suits you and where you are in your journey, your knowledge of training and dieting, and your capabilities. This is another place where people that are new to the gym can be quite vulnerable as well, because finding a reliable source of information is a major key tool in getting results at the gym. So my advice would be to not just listen to any girl or boy on the internet or any article you read on the Daily Mail, because some of these people don't actually have a clue what they're talking about. So you need to look around until you find someone or something as a reliable source of information. May it be your PT at your local gym, an online coach, a book. There's loads of different places on the internet or in person that you can get reliable information for dieting and training. So that's the next part, guys. Make sure you make a plan and that you have a reliable person or thing to depend on. So once you know you're ready for change, once you have your plan in place, and once you have a reputable source of information, somebody to help you along the way, then you need to realise that you are 100% responsible for your actions and your own progress. This is something that I was guilty of as well myself before, and I think many people are, when it comes to the tougher parts of the dieting where you're hungry, where your cravings are high, or where you just don't want to do your cardio, and you could think of 100 different excuses and 100 different people to blame. That is not the way to go about it, guys. Remember that you can't blame your coach, you can't blame your friends or family. You are 100% responsible for how well you do once you have your reputable source of information. Of course, there are going to be some exceptions where, I don't know, if there's tragedies in life or things that are completely out of our control, but most of the time the things that happen to us are in our control, and it's up to us how we respond to them. So yeah, take some ownership, guys, and realize that you are in charge of your own progress, nobody else. Okay, and then of course, once you've done all the things to get in shape and you have the physique you want and you're happy with life, it can often be more difficult to actually maintain your physique than to get it in the first place, because you're not going to be as motivated as you were at the start because you're kind of happy with where you're at. So this is where you normally meet lapses, relapses and collapses. So a lapse is where you fall off plan once. Maybe you might have eaten something that you weren't supposed to eat, that wasn't on your plan. If you're tracking your macros, maybe you ruined your macros that day, or whatever plan you have in mind in your head that you're following and you go off at once. That's called a lapse. So if you don't deal with a lapse correctly, it can lead to a relapse, which would be a series of lapses. So it would just happen over and over and over again until you finally just collapse and you just feel like, why do I even bother anymore? I may as well just scrap all of my new good habits and go back to the way I was because I'm after ruining everything. So I think we've all kind of experienced that at least once in our own lives. It doesn't even have to be just with dieting. It could be with anything where something goes wrong once, then it goes wrong a couple of times, and then it goes wrong too many times and you just feel like, I'm just going to go back to square one and eat the way I did before. So it's how you deal with the initial lapse which will determine whether it will result in a series of lapses, which will be a relapse and then a collapse. So my advice on dealing with a lapse: firstly, they are normal. Everyone is going to experience lapses. Nobody is superhuman here, but we all go off plan from time to time, and that is completely okay. As I said, you are at the stage where you want to be. You're happy with your physique now, and this is where you can start treating yourself. So how you deal with a lapse is extremely important. So instead of thinking, oh, I've gone off plan, why did I bother, feeling guilty about it, wishing you didn't do it, feeling ashamed of yourself, and all these different feelings of guilt and shame, you need to completely scrap these and think of it in a more positive light, if that makes sense. So instead of thinking, oh, I'm after going off plan, I may as well just scrap it for the rest of the day, instead of having that kind of mindset, think of it that, look, I learned something from today. You need to consider why you lapsed in the first place. So where were you, and what happened that day? Who were you with? What was your environment like? How were you feeling? So once you're able to knuckle down why the lapse happened in the first place, then it can be really easy to avoid them going forward once you've targeted the issue in the first place. And then another tip I have for you, when you have reached the physique you want and you're able to deal with your lapses and you're able to treat yourself from time to time and then go back on plan and still make progress, is to log everything you're doing. So log your lifts at the gym, log the food you're eating, if it fits your macros, if you're working off a meal plan, if you have different ways of dieting, then make sure you're at least logging it and have a plan in place each week, and short-term and long-term goals, because I know sometimes once we've reached the physique we want, we have our bikini body and we're done on our holiday, and then you get home and you're like, what the hell do I do from here? Where do I go from here? You need to always have different goals in mind, be it short term or long term. Preferably both is perfect. Track your progress and be aware of what makes you fall off track, because those are three things that are really, really important to keeping you on track when you've reached where you want to be. And yeah, those are some of the things that I've used myself and learned along the way. I know some of them seem kind of simple when you look at them first, but as I said, it's often the most simple parts of the process that are overlooked, and they are often the most important parts. So I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to, guys. If you have any questions or anything, then leave them in the comment section for me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.